What's going on, y'all, and welcome back. So, hey, when I think about thriving financially, some of the things that I think are very important is honestly who I spend a lot of my time with. And that's personally, professionally, romantically, all those things. But today, let's focus on the romantic piece. Why do I think this topic is important related to this channel? When it comes to the fellas, like, we spend a lot of money as it relates to just trying to get to know someone, whether we're really feeling them or whether we're not. So today's topic is going to be about some of the mistakes that I made dating in my 20s. Let's get into it today. What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Hey, brief introduction for those of you who are new. My name is Sean Harness. Professionally, I am a business strategist, also an engineer. I spend a ton of time building, managing, maintaining multi-million-dollar businesses for several Fortune 500 companies. The goal of this channel is to give you a unique set of tools to help you thrive, right? Mainly financially, but also helping you to secure the wealth you deserve in your everyday life. I pride myself on winning in life. I pride myself on being a sponge to figure out the best ways, honestly, to win in life. So when it comes to how I've been able to elevate and level up in my life, personally and professionally, I feel like that came from a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, great mentors. Honestly, I learned a lot in corporate America. And those are things that I want to talk to you guys about on my channel. In today's topic, I wanted to talk to you guys also about, I would say, my romantic journey, right? So my dating life in my 20s. And I feel like this is a really interesting topic because first and foremost, as it relates to you, I would say thriving in your everyday life. I know this was for me personally. I feel like I spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, a lot of money on dating, really, trying to get to know someone that I didn't know because I possibly maybe was attracted to him. I don't know, like, who knows? So again, let's paint the picture in the 20s, right? Here I am, this guy, fresh out of college, had a little bit of money. I was working a little bit, just learning a lot about myself, learning a lot about my friends, really connecting with people in my family, just growing as a person. And so as it related to dating, I feel like I was very young in my dating life. So as it related to, say, a set of criteria, as it related to who I really liked, I feel like I really didn't know. I was kind of passing time by. So here's a couple of mistakes I feel like I really truly made while dating in my 20s. So the first, I feel like I worried so much about a relationship versus really just dating and getting to know someone. So I felt like this was a mistake because it was just so much pressure put on the relationship piece when I feel like I could have just been honestly spending much more time getting to know this person, because back then in my 20s, again, I don't feel like I really had a goal for dating. It was really just getting to know someone, and that's what I should have been doing. One thing that I learned during that time is that people appreciate honesty over everything. So in general, if I didn't want a relationship, I probably should have just said that back then. So overall, the focus for me back then, I feel like it should have been honesty, transparency, and happiness over everything else. So number two, I feel like I spent a lot of time letting very specific types of girls string me along, which wasn't cool because I felt like I was a dope guy, right? So I didn't really understand that back then myself, but I didn't notice the context clues. I don't feel like when it came to really just getting to know someone, that person not really showing that interest back in me. I feel like we've all had that experience spending too much time with the wrong person. If I could do it all again, I would focus less on the physical, but more on the package. Just because I was young didn't mean I couldn't date someone who honestly made me feel good. Number three, I feel like I focused too much on the success of that date or that person versus my overall goals and future success of my life. Sometimes I honestly threw my goals out the window. I felt like in my 20s, I really didn't take it as serious as I could have. Being in your 20s, I feel like that is a time to really focus on what I like to call your stair-step goals. So stair-step goals, meaning that if you're someone who has a immediate long-term, midterm or long-term goal of, let's say, being someone who's very wealthy, right? You want to be a millionaire. So if you say go to college, right, learn a trade or learn a skill from after going to college and getting into something that's really going to be fruitful, building relationships, spending time in organizations, spending time in leadership roles, and really just, again, stair-stepping and building on those goals. That was something I didn't focus in on. I was too focused on going out with the girl next door and hoping that that was going to be something. Number 4, I felt like I spent so much time judging a book by its cover. And I mean, who isn't doing this, right, in their 20s? I feel like I was a person back then. I was very superficial. Man, look, I grew up in Detroit. In Detroit, that's just how we are. You know what I mean? A little flashy, just was much more superficial than I could have not been. And so in that regard, I feel like it's very important while you're dating them, just honestly, just get to know someone. Get to know who they are as a person, and that will allow you to kind of build on that relationship for whatever that relationship is. Also, being superficial at this age, I feel like I was very hypersensitive to a lot of discussions, a lot of conversations. So if it was something that I could sit down and talk to them about, back then, I don't feel like I had the tools to really move through an argument, I would say, just being someone who was mature. Didn't have those tools back then. So I feel that being less hypersensitive to specific conversations that possibly trigger me back then, right? So with that being said, I feel like it's important to let certain things go, right? So that you can move on, have fun in a relationship, and just continue to genuinely just have fun and get to know that person while you're dating them. You aren't perfect and neither are they. So number 5, I felt like I was afraid of the success in the relationship. And that for me, when I think about that, it's actually kind of deep because it really goes back to some of my childhood and it goes back to some of my things that either happened or didn't happen from my family. I didn't really know what it meant to have a successful relationship because most of the people in my family, they weren't married, they weren't in long-term relationships. They weren't thriving as an individual with someone else. I didn't see a lot of healthy relationships growing up. So the fact of just thinking about a relationship doing well and me growing with that person, I feel like that scared me back then. When I think about this and I think about the more mature way to deal with just doing well in a relationship, honestly, set some goals for yourself as it relates to dating. And it doesn't have to be super deep goals, but goals that allow you to really be true to yourself. And with that being said, if a relationship does well, it does well. Hey, it's okay to have a good significant other. So number 6, this one is quite interesting to me because being in full transparency, I feel like there were a lot of times where I strung people along in my 20s. And I feel like that mainly came from me not truly understanding what it was that I wanted and also not being really true to myself in that regard. So there were times where I knew a relationship, it was quits, and I should have just honestly just called it quits. Those relationships that just kind of drag on way too long, I feel like it's important to just be honest with yourself. Sometimes I feel like when people date a person for a long time, they feel like time equals loyalty. Like just because you knew this person for 3 or 4 years, you have to essentially be with them or you have to marry them. That's not always the case. I think it goes back to the why behind your goal of your relationship. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be successful financially? Do you want to build with somebody? Do you just want somebody to pass the time away? I think it really goes back to that first. So I'll give you an example that I think is quite simple. If I think about some place that I really, really enjoy, it's the beach, right? I love the beach. I like the sand. I love the warm weather. I love the sun. I love the water. If someone asked me, hey, do you want to go to the beach? Absolutely. At all times, I want to go to the beach. If I live close to the beach, I'd probably be there every day, right? When someone used to ask me, hey, you've been dating so-and-so for about a year or two or year or so, how's it going? Do you feel like this is going well? And I'll be like, well, I think it's kind of going okay. I like a little bit about this. Listen, if you ask me right now about how I feel about my fiance and how I feel about getting married and how I feel about building with her, it's a 100% yes all day. Number 7, and lastly, I feel like I wasted way too much money on expensive dates. I felt that, you know, coming from where I came from, look, I grew up in Detroit. Sometimes I feel like I just thought in my brain and thought in my mind that I needed to spend all this money to impress this person or that person. And quite frankly, I feel like when I look and think about back then, that wasn't really that important. It should have been more of me honestly just getting to know that person. You can get to know that person at a coffee shop. And I'm not saying that if you find someone that's special, you shouldn't spend a lot of money on a date. I'm just saying that sometimes I feel like we jump the gun to feel like we have to spend all that money on a date, when quite frankly, a lot of women, as I've dated more, I feel like in my 20s and in my 30s, honestly, if they understood and saw you as a genuine person, they cared more about that than anything else. They wanted to get to know me, per se, right? Versus essentially getting to know my money. That's our time for today, guys. Look, if you found value in this video, be sure to like it, share it, and also subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when I get ready to post a new video, so you can check out all of my new content. In the meantime, go check out my website, SeanHarness.com. If you'd like to find some new ways to level up in your business or your career, I have a free 3-day money video course there for you to check out. In the meantime, peace and be well, guys.